Hi students, this week in geography class we're going to look at language as part of our social identity. Now, cultural geography is a social science, and many social sciences like sociology, anthropology, even the social science side instead of the biology side of psychology, all of these disciplines look at language as one of the most, if not the most, significant cultural identifier or social identity marker that exists. So language and language families, dialects, vernaculars, these kinds of things, all of these words are defined for you in chapter 6. I believe it's chapter 6 in any of the editions of the textbook that are approved of for this course this semester. So language is a cultural identifier, a social identity marker, and it's usually considered to be the most significant. Now, there are some reasons why it's considered to be the most significant, and that's the main reason is I've kind of got this written all over the place on the board today, but look down here on the very bottom where I say that language is shared. So nobody is born having any knowledge pre-programmed into themselves about how to behave or what their social group's identity is, what the core beliefs, what the core values, the folkways, the norms. Nobody is born pre-programmed with this information. We have to learn everything, and language is that first mechanism to be able to communicate messages. And that's exactly what the definition of language is. It's symbols and or sounds that are used in communication. Now, I put the and or in there so that we don't just limit the concept of language to the spoken word, because sign language, which does not have to accompany any sounds with it, but rather is accompanied by facial expressions, body language, and specific symbols, just like the alphabet has specific symbols in it that represent different letters and sounds of the alphabet. Sign language has specific hand symbols that represent different letters of the alphabet or different words entirely. So written language, signed language, or spoken language, all of these different formats of language are language. Then we have additional add-ons to language, like I use all the time, which is body language, paralanguage. Did you hear the tone of my voice change just then? And give a variation. Paralanguage is the tone of voice that we overlap the meaning of words. So for instance, I could say something like, it's raining today. And the way I say it's raining today, that's a statement. I'm not asking a question. But I could leave the word order just like it is and overlap a tone of voice and say, it's raining today? And you've got that questioning kind of meaning that's added to those words that wasn't there before. So language is a huge cultural identifier, a huge social identity marker, and we share language with the people who have us first in our upbringing. So we have to learn our way of life from those people. They have to communicate it to us, and definitely the sounds and symbols associated with language are much more nuanced than just the written vocabulary or the braille, the printed braille, or the signed words, or the written words, or the spoken word. You have paralanguage, you have touch, you have proxemics, which actually is the space. Haptics is the science of touch, and proxemics is the space. And paralanguage, the tone of voice, facial expressions, gestures, all of these different kinds of things can be specific to a particular social group and are particular to social groups. So one of the things that we're going to look at during this week is, number one, you're going to look at least 3 videos that I've curated for you. So it's not just going to be you and me constantly this week. You're going to have a little bit of a break from Mrs. T and look at some of the vast materials that are available through TEDx lectures and other geography materials that are online. So there's an article for you to read about dialects, but in our particular time that we have left together in this video, I want to talk about how important dialects are, vernaculars, and lingua franca. So please look in your in your textbook for the definitions of these. Essentially, a dialect refers to the accent or the collection of words that are used in a particular place and time. So for instance, I think it was my sociology class actually, but I might have told y'all recently that my mother's family is from Rhode Island. Well, Rhode Island is in New England. It's fully Yankee. I say the word Yankee as an affectionate term because my mother's people, my relatives, are from there. And when I visited them in the past, I get up there and I sound a whole lot different, or they sound a whole lot different to me. So I'm identifying their otherness simply by the way they pronounce words. And they identified me as other. I could tell because one of my cousins said, "Hey, Kate, come here, just say something for these folks." And I'm like, "What do you want me to say? What are you talking about?" "We just want, them to hear the cute way that you talk," or whatever. And so I'm thinking, okay, so they're marking me as other because I have a different dialect, a different accent that I use in my typical everyday speech than they do. Definitely. I noticed it too. So that's another reason why language is such a huge social identifier, because it's not just about the exact language that you speak, although it is. It's not just about the different gestures and symbols that are used, although it is. It's not just the fact that people share these things amongst these different groups, some of whom become very isolated through the movement and migration of languages over time, but it's also about dialects. It's about the vernaculars, which is the common words that are used in everyday speech. Geographers can plot places on maps. For instance, there's a great big full color map in chapter 6 about the use of the different words for soda pop across the United States. So in Arkansas, and you can see on the map it's color coded that Arkansas is a place where people typically say Coke if they mean any kind of soft drink, any kind of sparkly drink. I can say to a student at office hours, "Hey, you want to go get a Coke and we'll sit in the hallway and talk?" Well, they can end up with a Sprite and I can end up with a Dr. Pepper, but we've called it a Coke. And different places, you might call it a pop, or you might call it a soda, or you might call it a soda pop, or you might call it a Coke or a soda pop, right? It's just, there's all kinds of different ways to break down vernaculars. One of the curated videos that you're going to look at this week is by a guy called Eric Singer, and he's a dialect coach, an accent coach, who teaches actors how to adopt an accent for a particular role they're playing, or teach people like me to erase my Southern accent if I had a job that required a more standard spoken American English version. SSAE is actually an acronym for Standard Spoken American English, which is typically the accent or lack thereof that journalism wants people to use. In journalism, the coaches or the editors or whatever on TV and radio journalism typically advise people who have aspirations to go national with their reporting skills to eliminate any kind of ethnic or place of origin accent in their spoken English. You can always tell the advertisements on TV, or at least I can, maybe you will start looking at it also. You can always tell the accents on TV, whether that was a locally produced advertisement or nationally. I think of the Cleo's Furniture ads or Aladdin Rug ads or there's another furniture company that does their own ads, and definitely the people in those commercials did not consult an accent coach or a dialect coach before they went on camera. I didn't either, so you can find all kinds of flaws, and my diphthongs are too long in this video, and I say a lot apparently. If you look at the closed captions, there was another one when I said that. So, lingua franca refers to the appropriateness of the vocabulary, the accent in the business world. And so dialects can identify us as different positions within the power structure, but also throughout history, you have seen situations in which not only the language that you speak, but the dialect can be something that identifies you as a subordinate group, that is somebody who falls underneath the most dominant group in society. And so that'll be what our next video is about, before you see those curated videos I mentioned. So I'll see you again real soon.